Let's check in with Joseph Lindsley in Ukraine.
We know that Russia wants to destroy Ukraine. They've made that clear. Putin has made it clear. I'm sure we're going to hear that tonight if anyone watches Tucker Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin.
Joe. Little fucking Joe Lindsley.
Joe Lindsley is quickly becoming an American treasure in broadcasting.
Welcome to Ukraine Bank.
We go to Kyiv. Joseph Lindsley reporting from Ukraine. Joe, I don't know whether you saw the editorial in the Wall Street Journal written by the German chancellor. He said, make no mistake, a Russian victory in Ukraine would not only be the end of Ukraine as a free, democratic, and independent state, it would also dramatically change the face of Europe. It would deal a severe blow to the liberal world order. Russia's brutal attempt to steal territory by force could serve as a blueprint for other authoritarian leaders around the globe. More countries would run the risk of falling prey to a nearby predator. And you have echoed those words many times, Joseph.
Hey, Bob, good afternoon from Kyiv. Hearing those words from Chancellor Scholz, I wonder if he was trying to persuade himself because Germany is a very powerful country and they have resources that they could send to Ukraine. They've been very reluctant. The German opposition has pushed to send the Taurus, these long-range missiles, sort of the German version of the American ATACMS, which would allow Ukraine to hit bases within Russia to put a stop to some, or to help slow down some of these missile attacks. And Germany has refused. And we tend to see this, I mean, very often. And this, there's beautiful prose and great talk about standing for liberal democracy. But the only ones doing the actual fighting for that are here in Ukraine. And, it can be easy to forget. I mean, in World War II, so many countries in Europe fell into the hands of the Nazis quickly. And then it was left up, it was all left to the UK. Because of Ukraine's stand, the line is being held. But the good words won't help. Ukraine needs the weapons. And, I've been thinking today, it's a calm day here in Kyiv. At the moment, the Russians are attacking. They're always attacking at the front, but there seems to be some missiles being sent toward the Kherson region. And there were drone attacks in Odessa last night. But, lately we've seen, and for a long time, actually, this Russian strategy of sporadic attacks, right? So maybe, since the new year, about once a week, a major missile attack upon Ukraine. And, I wonder what is that strategy? And as I'm here in Kyiv or in Kharkiv, you would think if you just did those attacks every day for a week or 2 weeks, you could cause significant damage. And why don't they do that? And I think we have to ask that question. I was talking with people at some events the past day here in Kyiv, and everyone said, okay, we were attacked yesterday morning. So we kind of know we have, maybe a week. We have 5 or 6 or 7 days of calm. And let's use that time well. Let's make sure we are well rested. We work hard, and we know what the rhythm is. And we know that Russia wants to destroy Ukraine. They've made that clear. Putin has made it clear. I'm sure we're going to hear that tonight if anyone watches Tucker Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin. But why does Russia engage in these sporadic attacks? And I think it's precisely because if they bombed Kyiv every day as they tried to do in the very beginning, that would get headlines every day around the world. It would be horrible scenes of destruction, and people would start caring much more again and paying attention. And maybe even in Berlin and other places, they'd be scared and they'd send weapons. And so what Russia seems to be doing in a very calculated way, using the skills of a great psychologist, is to do just enough damage to try to make life and opportunity in Ukraine untenable, so that the airports can never open up again, to always keep, this everyone on edge, but doing it in sort of the most boring way possible for the outside world, so that people get tired of it. And I think that has to be that has to be what the strategy is here. And as we look at, it's the big news here, is Tucker Carlson, my former colleague from my time at the Weekly Standard and Fox News. He's now got a popular platform on X, on Twitter, and he interviewed Vladimir Putin, and I think it's going to air tonight Eastern Time, 6:00 in the U.S. And many people, including folks like Elon Musk, are praising Tucker as a brave journalist because he went to Moscow. And as I think about, I've been meeting the past couple of days with a great swath of Ukrainians, people working to use technology and use their intelligence to win in every way possible. And not just Ukrainians, but people from all over the world. And I can tell you more about this in the coming days. But the people I've met with, I can only say I'm proud of them. You see everyone using whatever their expertise is to try to help. And this is not about Zelensky or politicians. It's not about the European Union or NATO. It's about these people who insist on being free. And they did so in 2014. They said, we're not going to live like Russians under tyranny. And now they're fighting for it every way they can. And 2 years on, they're tired, of course, but people aren't giving up. And just to contrast that, for anyone who does watch that Tucker interview tonight, as you listen to what Tucker says, or as he talks with Vladimir Putin, just try. I want to share this image of Ukrainians meeting together, figuring out how they can counter Russian attacks on not only missile attacks but cyber attacks, and how they can protect their families. And as an American Marine veteran who runs a company based in London called Flashpoint that works on cybersecurity, his name is Andrew Borin. He actually says he grew up listening to WGN in Minnesota. Somehow, I guess you could hear the signal there. But he said, this is an attack on Russia. Is a terroristic nation attacking family and community and business and freedom. All of these values of the Ukrainians. But these are values that are universal. And so that's what I've seen so clearly in meeting with people here today in the past couple of days. The real resistance and the brave thing would be to come here and to see it and to see these people, despite their fears, carrying on rather than to be in Moscow, the place that is unleashing hell upon this country every single day.
Tucker Carlson says he requested an interview with President Zelensky. Do you believe him, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps, but he's mocked Zelensky, so nastily, and I think now that he's been in Moscow, I mean, he would be a security threat here. What kind of information would he reveal? You'd have to blindfold him, bring him to Kyiv. And I think, as I've really been thinking about, what is Tucker doing? Does he really believe this? And from my experience, Bob, in the world of Fox News, but I think it's the world of media. It could be media in general. When anyone who becomes powerful, the foundation of what Tucker is saying makes sense. We should be questioning the government always. That's what media should be doing. We should question narratives. In fact, one thing, I think it's very important to question, for example, Chancellor Scholz in Germany, or to question the White House. When they say they support Ukraine, do they really support Ukraine? We should be investigating things in Washington. It seems that our national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, he is in charge of Ukraine policy. To whom is he accountable? Is he accountable to Joe Biden, or is he just running the policy himself? And who is this guy? And they say they support Ukraine, but they won't send the weapons here. So I agree. I think with the audience of Tucker Carlson, that we need to be skeptical and ask questions. But then I think what happens is, as you start to ask questions, you sort of build up narratives. And you build up an audience, and then you become afraid of losing that audience. And Americans going back, there was a Harvard historian in the 1960s that wrote a book called The Paranoid Style in American Politics. And on the left and the right, we sort of, we have a Puritan streak in our country, right? The Puritans were burning witches, so we have freedom, but we also have this paranoia. And we have to be aware of that as Americans so we don't fall into it. And certainly there's, I think we have a lot of wounds and trauma in our politics. This is why we see Robert F. Kennedy, who comes from a traumatized family. His uncle was killed. So we can understand the questioning of the system, but we have to make sure that we keep questioning in a way that is based in facts, and those facts can only be found in conversation and by visiting places. And so, going to Moscow, what are you going to see there? There's no war there. You'll actually see the Potemkin village. You'll see a place that denies war. And so I think Tucker has gotten caught up in this frenzy. Probably, maybe he woke up at 3 a.m. in the Moscow hotel room saying, what am I doing? I hope so. But for anyone watching that, the real story is of not of the elites, not of the Putins or the Bidens or even President Zelensky. The real story is of regular human beings standing up to tyranny, as they're doing every single day in this country.
Joseph Lindsley in Kyiv, you always give us a lot to think about. We appreciate that. Thank you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Що він сказав?
Well, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?
Єбать.